This is Amy McFall, and I'm doing my class discussion on flipped classrooms. Are they applicable to all subjects? And online learning versus classroom learning, or face-to-face learning, excuse me. I will be addressing the online learning versus the classroom learning to begin with. A U.S. Department of Education study in 2010 gave some interesting statistics. Although findings are based mainly on post-secondary students, there are very few rigorous research studies about the effectiveness of online learning for K-12 students. I believe in the 9 that they compared, there was barely any difference between purely online learning or purely face-to-face learning, but blended learning, a usage of technology in the classroom, had a better outcome, though this margin was still pretty small. I believe that one of these reasons is because students are often not motivated to get on and do their computer work or their classwork. They don't have the resources to be able to do the things, the classroom work that they need to do, or to be able to research or know the questions that they need to have answered. Whereas a classroom with face-to-face teacher, the teacher can monitor any background knowledge. She can help them to learn from each other. She can know what knowledge is lacking and have a better response with it. But I also believe that there is a personal relationship that students form with their teacher. And I've seen it, year after year after year, that students who are dedicated to a teacher or a team of teachers will blossom. They will do better in class. They will do better at home. They will try harder. They will learn more because they have a relationship with the teacher. Whereas I feel like that is not really even possible when you're online. You don't really get to know somebody or spend time with somebody, have free time, chit chat with them, sit down at lunch with them, ask them questions, get to know them. So it's also very removed because you have a computer screen, between you and the classroom. So as we were talking about in our discussion last Monday night, it is a different type of learning than being in the actual classroom, picking up on the nuances of the teacher, knowing, different things, resources in the classroom to use, being, seeing different things in the classroom. It's just a whole different world than online learning. And I don't believe the accountability is there. That piece is missing from online learning. Personally, my 11-year-old nephew and my 10-year-old niece have been participating in online learning their whole life, and their parents have to do a whole lot of hands-on monitoring and review and teaching in addition to what they're getting online. And it's not always lined up with what we're learning in school, which it doesn't have to be necessarily, because they could be learning more advanced things, but there's also some of those missed opportunities and some of those missed standards. Plus, they don't get to go on field trips. They don't get to, learn from the classroom environment or learn from each other because they're not, really, they each have their own computer, or they're on the computer at different times and they're not listening to each other, not participating with each other. And I feel like that's important, but it also, it's done really well for my niece, but it hasn't done really well for my nephew because he just learns differently, and he needs to be in a classroom with a teacher or set of teachers who can adapt their learning to him. As far as the flipped class goes, my understanding of a flipped classroom this is my first introduction to it really, is that it is using videos and technology on the outside, at home resources to teach things or reinforce things that you're learning in class. I think it's a fabulous idea. I think it's a great way to get kids motivated and involved, a quick way to teach them or lay out the principles of something, and then be able to reinforce it, work with it in class. I think that it could potentially, in the higher grades, save time in the classroom. It gives a different mode of delivery versus just the teacher standing there, talking. And it also helps you to stay very concise with your directions or your explanations or your overview of resources, because you need to do it, 1 minute per grade level. So that really gives you a time constraint that you need to work within. And I think that helps because often I get way too wordy and I get too long in my explanations and then I lose my students. So, a very quick, concise explanation of something that they can go back and review as many times as they need to. That is an awesome resource that I think that we should be using. And again, I think it's a great way to bring some technology into the classroom and help the students connect to what you're teaching.